Okay, I'll say 5 minutes is all we give you in Silicon Valley. No more than that. Um, this is a welcome to the Ask Me Anything of Liquid Factory. The goal is for you to ask questions. So I want to keep the presentation short. I'm going to go through this in 5 minutes, maximum 10, to show you what we do at Liquid Factory. The goal is to answer some of the questions you might have ahead of time, and then we can open to questions. And again, since it's ask me anything, you can ask me anything. So let me start with what is the Liquid Factory. Liquid Factory is a startup factory in Valtellina. And our goal is to attract the best talent we can find. In the previous batch, we had founders from 4 continents. And the goal is to start from a valley in the Alps in the middle of nature, but the end goal is to create, a unicorn if you can. And we hope to be able to do one out of the 16 we're gonna create with a dual company structure. So we are trying to create companies that start in Italy with the founders in Italy, and then they jump to Silicon Valley after 3 months, and hopefully they stay there. But they are liquid companies based on a dual company structure. So our idea is that the founders stay in Silicon Valley and the rest of the company stays beyond. And part of this is our experience. I started 2 companies in Italy, then I moved to Silicon Valley, stayed there for 23 years. Franco was also in the call, was in Silicon Valley for 30 years, and then I moved back to Valtellina. My experience has been starting a company there with engineers in Italy. And then the last one that I did was a company that was based in Silicon Valley and had engineers in Italy, but they were dispersed. So we started a liquid company in 2012 called Talk TV. We managed to raise money because it's easier if you want in Silicon Valley. And we were able to use the best engineers we could find. So the first engineer I had was in Sicily, the second in Sardinia, the third one in Rome, the fourth one was in Milan. We opened a virtual office in China, in the UK, built a company partnering with big companies like Real Madrid, Juventus, Barcelona, and then we reached 40 million users and we sold it to a company in Silicon Valley. So it's a model that works because it has the Silicon Valley part, which is where you grow the company, but you don't have to have everybody there. You can have the entire companies in a better place with a higher quality. But the advantage of being in Silicon Valley for fundraising, growth, because you are 10 minutes from Google, Meta, Apple, OpenAI, Anthropic is really the right place to be. And in particular, for the last part, which is the exit, I could not have sold my company in Italy for sure. Instead, I was able to do that in Silicon Valley. So because we want to go to Silicon Valley, because we want to create unicorns, we are looking for people that dream big. So we're not trying to build yet another small, medium business in Italy. We want to attract people that have a big idea, that want to, as they say in Silicon Valley, change the world. So we're aiming for the moon. We're not aiming for a company that could survive. Our goal out of 16 companies we're going to build is that 12 are going to die. And they are going to die because they're going to go and try to do something that is very hard to do, which is building a very big company. And we're happy that they're going to die. And then our goal is that out of the 4 is 2 or 3 will return some of the money and 1 will actually make it. So that's the concept. So one thing, if you do an application, is it needs to be a big idea. If your market that you're going after is too small, and there's no way you can make $1 billion in 5 years, assume that OpenAI made $1 billion in when they launched. So I'd say 5 years. Then it's not something that is of interest of us because it would not be of interest of any investor in Silicon Valley, which is the goal that we have. Our program is based on talent. So we're not looking for, startups that are already built, companies that already be funded or founded. Is someone that has no experience but is exceptional. Last year we had 547 applications and we picked four people. So if you don't have an idea, you need to really be spectacular, or has a good idea that has been developed, maybe some IP in the university, something that puts you in front of other in the list, and that maybe has a prototype, something built, but needs the money and the experience of people that know how to build a company that can grow, that can get to Silicon Valley. The deadline is June 30th, so it's 4 days from now. What we do is that we put 200,000 euros into a what's called a safe. So it's a convertible note in the Italian corporation. So first thing we do, do the selection. The line is June 30th. We're gonna take a few weeks, 2, 3 weeks to go from whatever number we're gonna get to 60, and then notify everyone that didn't make it, and those that make it in the top 60, and then go down to 20. So will be me and all the partners to do that, and then on the last 20, we're gonna do interviews one-on-one, and then we're gonna down to four who are gonna sign the term sheet, which is the one you see on the website. So read it. The term is straightforward. We are not becoming partners, so we're not shareholders of your company. The company is yours. We actually give you 10K to fund the company, meaning that you go to the notary public in Italy with the 10K, so you don't have to put any money, and then we give you the 190 as soon as you open the bank account. So usually it's a week to open a bank account. And then that has a cap at $1 million, euro, sorry. And then so the idea is that we are there, but we're not shareholders. We have no veto power on anything. We have nothing to say. The only thing we have in the term sheet is that every 3 months you have to tell us actually how you're doing. And so, in theory, if you want to take the money and don't not come to Valtellina, you could do that. We have no way to force you not to go to Silicon Valley, not to. So we're there to help you. Hopefully, people that will have the discussion will understand that the goal is to come in Valtellina at the end of September, spend 3 months in with us and with our mentors to define the business plan, and then at the beginning of January, jump to Silicon Valley, stay there for at least the first 6 months, and then see if things work there. And if not, come back and regroup, hopefully not needing that. The people that are here are there are partners, are all entrepreneurs who created or work for liquid companies, mainly in Silicon Valley. That's me. It's Franco. Alberto Netti is the chairman of Mind the Bridge, which is a bridge between Silicon Valley and Italy, and has been my partner in a lot of companies, so has a lot of experience. Matteo Daste is the top corporate lawyer, Italian, we have in Silicon Valley. Luca Penati is also in Silicon Valley, just retired. Is one of the top marketing person. He was leading a PR firm. We have, and I'm going this way. We have Michele Zonca, was my CTO. Is a co-founder of Kong, which is one of the few Italian unicorn in Silicon Valley that I was lucky to invest in. Billy Wong is also was a CEO in Silicon Valley, and she's based in Silicon Valley. So we had three people that are based in Silicon Valley. Then we have going up. I would say most of the others are in Valtellina, and one is a board member that is with us. Other things, if you don't know what Valtellina is a very nice place for skiing. There's not going to be that much skiing from October to December, but last year I skied the first time on the 29th of November, so there's going to be a little bit. Food is good. We're 20 minutes to skiing. We're 10 minutes to anywhere you want to go for hiking, climbing. We have a river, so you can go rafting. If you have a bike, you can go everywhere. We're about 30 minutes to Lake Como, and about 2 hours from Milan with a train. With a car, you can get to the three airports Bergamo, Linate, and Malpensa. So and we were the host of many Winter Olympics events that happened. So if you heard about Bormio, Livigno, a third of the medals of the Winter Olympics were in Valtellina. One thing we want to make sure you understand, we're in the middle of nature. There's really not much clubbing in Sondrio Valtellina. So if you come here with the idea, I'm going to go clubbing, then we might not be the right place for you for 3 months. You come here to work on your startup in the middle of nature with a lot of people around you. But the idea is go hiking and think, or go skiing and think. Clubbing, you can go to Milan, but it's 2 hours to go and 2 hours to come back. So it's pretty long. So if you don't like the outdoors, you might not enjoy life here for 3 months. It's only 3 months. So, we've seen people that don't particularly enjoy the outdoors. They were in the office all the time, but I think they're missing something. So the goal is really to get people that they have a dream. Hopefully, they have a passion for something. They have an idea. We're not looking for tech people only. In the first batch, three founders were not tech. There is a lot of AI that can do all the tech. We're looking for people that have a passion, I would say an obsession for something they want. They found something. They're crazy enough that they think they found something that no one else has seen in a market that has a big market. So the goal is global impact. We give you the money. There is no strings attached. Again, read the term sheet. There is no, you give me 200K. You have to give us back 150. There's nothing like that. We give you a free office that has 8 seats. And last year we expanded in the one next because we are more than 8, so we were 10. We give you free accommodation. We have a Liquid House. It's an apartment that is 100 meters, 200 meters from the office that has 4 rooms. Each room has its own bathroom. 3 out of 4 have a kitchen. And then we have a kitchen that is shared as well. That has a table where, if you guys want to eat together, you can. Otherwise, everybody eats wherever they want. So that's free for a year. The office is also free for a year. When the next batch comes in, you have to leave. Again, we think we're your co-founders, and we succeed when you do. We're not looking only for solo founders. Actually, we prefer teams, possibly of 2. 3 might be too many for the amount of money we give you, because it's hard to start a company without a co-founder. And so if you have someone that you have been working together, living together, that possibly you have shared a tent and you went camping together, that's what we're looking for. People that know each other, that understand that things can go up and down in a startup. So we're happy. 3 out of 4 rooms have 2 beds. So we have space also for co-founders, and we have 8 seats. So that means we can fit everybody. We're not an accelerator because we start companies from scratch. So we're more a venture builder. We're not an incubator because you join as a EIR. So you're entrepreneur in residence with us. Again, we focus on global impact. If your market is too small, we're not probably interested. You can use the 200K as you see fit. And again, we raised 4 million from a bank in Italy, and the CEO of the bank said, if these guys come in, buy a Maserati, and they leave, what can we say? And we cannot say anything. So hopefully we'll pick people that don't do that. So this is the most founders-friendly term sheet you'll ever find in Italy. There's nothing like that. So we have 4 million from Banca Popolare di Sondrio, which is now part of BPER. Our timeline is 10 years. So we're doing 16 companies for entrepreneurial residence per year over 4 years. So we've done 2 batches. This that coming is the third one. So we built 8 startups since now. First batch, we had 181 applications for AR from different backgrounds. A lot was AI. We had crypto as well. They were solo founders. 3 were solo founders, and then eventually became a full team. They had product in the market by month 3, and then they started making money. By September, 3 out of 4 were making money, and 3 out of 4 got to Silicon Valley. One now is there and is part of Foundation Capital Lab. The next batch was last year. We had 547 applications from 38 countries. The acceptance rate went down to 0.7. Four teams, 10 founders, four continents. You might see their companies. We have a clean tech, which is hardware, which we didn't think we would do, but we did. We have a biotech, and then we have a health tech, and then another fintech. So we they're all of course tech, but we have hardware, we have not hardware, we have tech people, we have not tech people. So we've been mixing and matching quite a bit. So we don't have a philosophy saying, okay, we want to invest in that market, or we don't want to do hardware, or we don't want to do clean tech. We're really investing in people. So we really like the people, whatever they were trying to do. As I said, the deadline is in 4 days. So this is the QR code. That's the URL. If you go to the liquidfactory.com, you see most of the things I said. Slash apply is which is the QR code. Allows you to fill up form. Please fill it in English if you can. The probability of getting in, if it's in English, are much higher than is in Italian because the idea is to send you to Silicon Valley and pitch in front of a international audience and build a global company. Doing that without speaking English is quite hard. All right. So that was the overview. Took 10 minutes, or maybe a little bit more. So if you have any questions, just raise your hand, and then or if you can type the questions, that's great as well, and I'll go and read them. So Lorenzo said, "How's the fundraising experience in Silicon Valley for startups from past batches?" So we're a couple of things. One is we have one company that has started doing it. So what we see is that we have prepared their well, so they're ready to pitch. The other thing we're doing right now that we haven't announced because I've been busy, but hopefully I'll do it soon, is that we are starting a roadshow for our startups starting in September because we want to introduce them to investors. And so we are going to do a roadshow with four or six startups, so a couple of the old batch as well, that will come with us. And we're going to do Milan mid-September, and then we're going to go London on the 17th of September, and then we're going to go San Francisco on the 21st. So the idea is to allow them to pitch in front of an audience, and then hopefully allow them to pitch. I mean, we don't like Italian investors that much, to be honest. I hope there is no Italian investors. So our aim is that you go out and then you find money somewhere where you can scale. But we've seen a lot of term sheets in Italy. They're hard. The market in Italy is too small. It's one language. The market of the US is 350 million. One language, one currency, but people are willing to spend money. So hopefully the idea of fundraising in Silicon Valley is not, or the US, is not just for because there is money and access there, but it's also because the market there is good. So if you have an MVP, Cesare, with some users, it's definitely an advantage. So we're looking at, and again, we're looking at everything. But if I think about the last batch, probably 3 out of 4 already had something they could show. You don't show it in that form. In the form, you kind of give us a hint that you have something. But once we go to the top 20 and we start doing a little bit of due diligence, then we're going to see demos. Then we're going to see things that we're going to go a little deeper. If you have a prototype, if you have demo, if you have users, if you have launched a product but don't have a company, that works as well for us. If you already have a company, that's an issue because we need to start a new company. But if you're willing to shut down the other company and move the intellectual property to the new company, that we can do that as well.
Okay, fantastic.
So yes, sorry, I'm going to I'll get back to you once I'm done with the text question. Is that okay? Okay, let's assume it's a yes. So two questions. One, my co-founder and I are part of an incubation program. When you had incorporated a startup, definitely. If you don't have a startup, actually, the fact that you went through a incubation program is great. The last batch, we have 3 people that came out of Vento, which is an incubator in Italy, and they knew each other well. Room and board, as I said, room is included. The three out of the four rooms have two beds, so that includes the co-founder. Board, we're not paying for your meals. We give you 200,000 euros, and so you can use them to pay yourself and buy your food, including pizzoccheri if you like them, because we have plenty. Thomas, no, we're not looking only for tech company. We're looking for any company. As I mentioned before, we prefer software to hardware because it's hard to do hardware, but we've done it. But not necessarily in tech market. There is we a likelihood they will be attracted to tech because we're tech people. But we've done again, biotech is not really tech in that sense. It's not software, it's not hardware. We've done one in that. I mean, one of the startups now is doing a tool to with RNA to kill mosquitoes. So really far away from technology. So definitely we want to see a market that scales and something that is big, like killing mosquitoes. It's big everywhere. Um, so for Silicon Valley, that's it. I think we started. I mean, I wanted to build Liquid Factory because I looked back on myself at 23 when I started the first company, and I had no clue. And then I started another company. Then I went to Silicon Valley, and again, I had no clue. First thing I did when I landed, I said, I want to start a company. Then I talked to a lawyer and said, do you have a visa? No, oops. You cannot start a company if you don't have a visa. So first get a visa, then get a green card, then you start a company. And that's what I had to do. So and once and I was there, and then I learned a bit of the system, and but I wasn't fully ready. So our goal is to make sure that you know everything that is to know to be able to compete. And first thing is a business model that scales, a slide presentation that works in Silicon Valley, a visa. So, we prefer the O1 visa, but the moment you come in, we're going to apply for a B1. So you have ability to go back and forth to the US for 10 years for a length of 6 months. And that's something you do at the consulate. Because a lot of people that came to visit me in Silicon Valley for years, they either had the wrong visa, they had no visa, they had a cap table which was completely screwed up because the cousin put in some money, so he had 30%, which makes it completely unfundable from a US standpoint. So one thing that I wish someone told me before making the jump is do your due diligence. I know I'm old, but when I moved to Silicon Valley, the internet was barely born, so there was not much information. Now you can get a lot of information. We're not going to be able to tell you what works, but we know a lot of things that actually do not work. So hopefully we're going to be able to avoid mistakes because we're there with you. So team building is a fact. If a solo founder came in, I can tell you what we've done in the past. So for example, we were looking first batch. We had three people that had no technical co-founder. Out of the 181, or in this case, 547 or whatever it's going to be, we have a list of people that have the same interest as you because they apply for Liquid Factory. They made it the top 20, maybe the top 60. So the first people we're going to approach are those that could become co-founders with you. And we found two in the first batch that way. So again, we don't have a formal process to do team building, but we have a fairly large network here and in US, and we are able to go out and help you finding someone that could match you. So that's great that if you already have an MVP, if you already have a client, you don't have a company yet, then that works for us. So we're definitely going to help you. We're not doing the company with you. I mean, the guys in the last batch, like Umo, they were looking for a tech person because they were not. There were two co-founders. They were not able to build the app. We helped them, but they found the CTO themselves, and they did a lot of interviews. They did a lot of work um, by themselves. So actually, I'm going to stop and ask, Forma, if you want to ask the question now that it's your turn.
For me?
Yeah, that's it says Forma, so I
Yes,
ask
it's,
you.
yeah, for my is the name of the company. My name is
Okay,
Andrea. So I have like some kind of question, but I see like Mirko make the question that are more interesting too. So about to blinding the project in the case is not validated in either no right or validated. So how we can blinding the project? That is the first question, and the second question is like should we open a startup company here in Italy, or will we open the startup company in America? Because I already have a company in America. So, but I think if it's the project is for a European project, or like can help also like improvement in MVP in America and then move in Italy. So we are. It's important to know how we can make sure that the project will be safe after like we will give like all the information, especially if it's like a big project. So I have a kind of project of like social credit system or decentralized to help people to get money around with time and merit value. So the things is like there is no things around like that in the world except in China. In China, there is some beta test. Also in America, there is called FICO. But these all projects are like
okay.
government
So
projects.
your questions are, sorry if I cut you short, but there are a lot of questions. I want to make sure we go through them. So the way the process works is that we start a company in Valtellina. It's going to be called Liquid something. So the first batch were Liquid Valgella, Inferno, Grumello, Sassella, which are wines. The second was Liquid Spluga, Stelvio, Mortirolo, and missing one. I don't remember the name. So, and then that's just to have a company here. And that's the one we fund. And that is the one that has a bank account in Italy. And the hope is that it's going to be the one growing with a team underneath. Then once we get to the US, if it makes sense, which we'll figure out in first 6 to 9 months, we open a company in the US. That company acquires the ownership of the Italian company. So it's called the flip. And the agreement you sign with us says that our investment in the Italian company becomes the equivalent investment as a safe in the US company. So we
Okay.
swap on the other side. So that's the process. If you already have an Italian company, we have to shut it down. If you have a US company, we probably might shut it down. We might use that one. We need to see how it is built. We have our corporate lawyer in the US. We would like to make sure that it's done properly. But that's the process of how that.
And the way of the process of the investment is equity.
So it's a safe. So it's a convertible into equity. So at the
Okay.
beginning, we don't own anything. It converts at a cap when you do the first round. So if you be, it could be 6 months, a year, or 2 years from the investment. And then at that point, when you actually find one investor that priced the round, that at that point, our investment becomes equity. But up to that point, we are not shareholders. So you're alone in the company without
And
us.
that is work for any kind of company and any kind of business inside the company. So, for
Correct.
example, B2C, B2B, and
Absolutely. Yeah, no,
B2G.
that's a corporate structure. That's very common. So
Doesn't matter.
yeah,
Okay.
that was mine. All right.
Okay.
So how much? So Marco said how much of a disadvantage is to apply as a pair of non-technical co-founders. Yeah, I have examples from previous batches. If you look at UMO Health, the CEO is non-tech, is an Italian that was living in Berlin. Is chief scientific officer is American that did a PhD in Brussels. And once they come in, we help them find a CTO, and so they found one. And but they would definitely. Uh, we have no problems at this point having non-technical founders because the feeling. I mean, I'm an engineer, so I'm sad to say that, but engineers are not as important as they were in the past, thanks to AI. So we're more looking at people that have a problem that they identified and they have some connection to the problem. They feel like that problem because, so for example, we invested in a company that is called Fashionista, and the lady started as seamstress and then went up to being part of the innovation team at Timberland. And she knew and she knows fashion, but she has no technical background. But now she's the one writing the code together with the CTO because now she can. And the same thing for Elephant Room. She's an interior designer, and we found a CTO, but she is now writing the code as well. So that's what we're seeing is that engineers are not as important as they were. Even if
Great.
the form seems to indicate that we like tech people more,
Yeah.
it's a trick.
Thank you.
Don't trust the trick. So Enrico said, how do you break into your ecosystem and get your immediate attention? I think the video is important. Things that we look for are, is this person going to be able to attract people around? I mean, you look at people that, if you're the CEO of a startup, you need to convince co-founders, investors, customers. So your ability to communicate your passion and what your idea and how you get to make it happen. I know 60 seconds is not a lot. It's one of the things that we're going to look, but eventually we're going to have a one-to-one conversation. So in order to get to us in the top 20, you need to have a big market, hopefully in mind, a good idea that we haven't heard of, or if we have, it's good enough, and the ability to communicate that idea. We had experience that we let people, come in, and then, the video was fantastic, and then we spoke to people and said, oops, nope, that was not the right person. But we also were surprised from others. Yeah, if you just as I said, I had some interest from plug and play. It's definitely meaningful. If someone has vetted you, it's interesting. It doesn't have to, it's not necessarily a winning thing, but it's everything helps. We evaluate. Christian asked and Omar if we evaluate co-founders individually as a team. We prefer if you apply separately and then you link each other into the application because we like to see both. And of course, the CEO is the one that will be the entrepreneurial residence, and we will be the one that we will focus more. But having a team is quite important to us. So we rather, if you have a strong co-founder, you rather show the person. Last year we had, independently three co-founders, I think, managed to be in the top 60 of one company, and then eventually we picked them because all three were really good. Yeah, it could be useful to upload a link to the prototype. I don't think we're gonna try it in the first selection, but it might be that at the second one we will. So because once we have, I don't know how many that we're gonna get, but if we go above 500 again, it's hard to look at every single application, including going very deep. So the first cut is we might not go deep enough. So so the link will help. So anyway, anything you have, add it because at a certain point we might start spending time on it. How the privacy of my application will be handled, meaning that well, it's your app, so and we have partners. I don't know what you mean with privacy, Mirko. If you want to, you know, tell me a little bit more about it, happy to answer. Because I don't know if you're talking about how your application will be private in the market, or if you're worried that whatever magic you're doing, people around you will not talk about. So we don't, we're your co-founders, so you shouldn't be worried about us at all. We're totally aligned. Eric, 19, work at a healthcare startup. What's with sports tech, health tech? Nice. Take a look at UMO Health. 19 is perfect. So no, not a problem at all. I think the youngest probably that we have is Ludovico was 20, I think, when he joined. as the one that is in Silicon Valley with Merivia. So if you have two idea, uh, well, yeah, two idea, it's okay. I mean, again, if you have two ideas, you can put both. If you have one that is better, maybe you can put the better one that you convinced. Not sure if having two ideas is better than one. That's I have to think about how we look at we look at the application. It's a competitive thing, so it really depends. So if you have 10 ideas, the risk is that you dilute the value. And then if you already have experience, you've done been a founder in the past, that could help. I mean, we're looking at people that have 19 that has no experience, and we have some that are like Sylvia was 36. So we were just, and she had a lot of experience in the market. So, and if you have done another startup, not a bad thing. Yeah. So Gabriele, two co-founders, one tech perfect, one strategy, one technical. Um, yeah, stage is perfect. If you have an MVP, you have some discovery, you have some traction, solid is it's that's why we're here. I mean, we can help you. We're gonna have mentors, partners, on every day of the week. We're gonna have me talking with you about strategy 101. We're gonna have Franco talking about marketing. We're gonna have Francesco talking about numbers. We're gonna have Michele talking about tech. So we're gonna slice every day of the week, the company in different direction. And in this case, when you talk about solid traction and go to market, that will be Francesco on the numbers, and then will be Franco for the marketing, and then myself for strategy. We also have 30 or more mentors that will do the fifth day. And so we have people that are probably in the same market that you are around HR tech, and can definitely help a lot. Vitali asked if you're required to have a co-founder. Definitely not. Solo founder play as well. Absolutely. First batch, we had three solo founders. Second batch, we have zero. So I have to be honest. But I have a feeling that we might actually go back to solo founders. We enjoyed that part. It's harder for a solo founder to get out and run because it's alone. And take finding a co-founder takes a lot of time. So what we've seen this year is that because we had teams, they were out in the market very quickly. By December, all four had a product in the market and they started selling. So having a co-founder makes things go much faster because also we have two people discussing and they kind of converge to something. Instead, spending the time trying to find a technical co-founder, it's harder. With AI right now, if you're a solo founder, you're not tech, you can vibe code your prototype, your MVP. So it's not as difficult as it was in the past. Yeah, one CEO going flying to, oops, I think, yeah, Elena said one CEO is a co-founder going to US and the other one in Italy. Absolutely. No, absolutely not a problem. If you think about Tac TV, which is my company, Michele was in Italy and I was in Silicon Valley, so it was exactly the model we had. Um, and I was the CEO and he was the CTO. Actually, it could actually make more sense to do that because Silicon Valley has the issue of being quite expensive. So having two people there is way more expensive than having one. The question is, the person goes there by itself. It might be a bit alone, but I never had a problem being alone, so it worked for me. The program they talk in the team, Valtrina will be in English. We have everything in English. Last batch, we had 10 people, half did not speak Italian. So we had three Italian, three from Spain, two Egyptians, one American, and one from Lebanon. So every team had someone who didn't speak Italian, so we just did everything in English. Of course, we're in Italy. I have two passports, but we're all Italian, so we definitely will speak Italian as well, but definitely English is our main language, which is kind of bizarre because we're in Valtellina in the middle of the Alps, but And that's how it works for us. Um, Yeah, I mean, Gabriela said in 1 minute I talked about myself and my background, which is exactly what we want to see. And the idea is in the written answers. That's fine. The video is fine like that. I mean, the video should be more about you and why you have the passion to do what you want to do. If you have a second to explain what the idea is and fit it with your experience or whatever, how you got to it, it's better. But we're going to go and read the application first and then look at the video a second. Your CTO is 50, not a problem. 50 is a good number. Um, So Marco said about AI, I have some doubts that there is something you can do in tech today without AI. So they're not going to be all flavored AI, but there is a high probability that AI will be involved. Again, the guy doing the tablet to kill mosquitoes is probably not going to use AI for building that, but there's going to be some AI in it. So even the clean tech has AI in it. Definitely fintech is all AI. If I think about all eight that we have, probably eight or seven, 6 or 7 are AI based, and doesn't. I mean, AI is everywhere. So if you are, oh, I'm going to do this with AI, and it's something an LLM can do, we're going to look forward 5 years. So the probability of you building something that can be done by an LLM and be a generic and not become a business is fairly high. So it's hard to find something right now that cannot be replicated in a few years with AI getting better and better. So we're looking for those. In the past, we might have said, okay, well, something that has AI in it is fine. But right now, maybe we're a bit more careful on what kind of things is there. So most of projects are software, digital, and fast iteration. That's correct. They tend to scale faster, and you can make mistakes and then change. The beauty of tech is that you don't have logistics, you don't have storage, you don't have to ship things. So the beauty of software, and that's why venture capital money usually is on tech. And if you look at the top 5 companies there are right now on the stock market, they're all tech companies. And so we tend to favor tech, but not because we are only tech, but it's because they scale really fast. And anything that is not tech, so luxury hardware product, might scale a little bit less. But if, for example, we have this hardware company, SolShip, that does a thing that you put on your inverter for solar panel and batteries, and it has AI behind it, but there is a piece of hardware, luxury hardware. Luna, or now it's called Ace Sleep, is a company of people I know that are Italians in Silicon Valley and built a luxury uh, way to make your bed cold or warm, separated, and it working extremely well. So they prove that you can do hardware, and if they come from Italy, that might be something that we're known. So fashion, furniture could actually work. Um, so Mirko, if you are worried about us, people reading your application is going to be only the 10 of us and our existing founders. So you shouldn't be worried about people stealing your idea. In general, this is my recommendation from any founders. You should never be worried about someone stealing your idea. If you go to Silicon Valley, everybody, the first thing they're going to tell you is their idea. Because what is proven is that and the Americans say 1% inspiration, 99% perspiration. That means that your idea is not worth much. Whatever your idea is, if it's an exceptional idea and there are no other 3 companies in Silicon Valley doing it, it is probably not an exceptional idea. It's just a bad idea. So it's very, very, very rare that a single person out of 7 billion people can come up with an idea. The work is executing on it and making it happen. That's what makes the difference. So the idea important, but being worried that someone is going to steal your idea, it should not be ever a problem for you. You should tell everyone you meet on the street what you're doing, getting feedback. Don't worry about NDAs or people just stealing your idea because that's gonna it takes so much work to do something that no one is gonna steal your idea. If they do, and good for them, but you can beat them, and there's gonna be someone else who's doing it. So if you're successful, there is going to be a lot of competitors anyway. So Elena said, "What if my CEO has already applied, but he didn't include me as a co-founder?" I think you should apply and link up your application to his, and maybe just write a note saying, "Hey, he didn't include me, but he forgot about me, and then but he likes me." So once we go through the process, we'll have a chat and understand why he didn't put you. So I wouldn't be worried, but I would recommend you do it as well, and it will be better for both to link, but don't worry about it. So the candidature will be in English. Yeah, I would say yes, the form is in English. The video says big like this in English. So we do receive applications in Italian. The probability of you being selected as one of the top four with an application in Italian is slim. With a video in Italian, very unlikely. But again, if someone is spectacular, there are some of our partners that don't speak Italian, and so they will not be able to understand what you say. So I would definitely recommend to try your English and the best you can. We have no problems with accents because Silicon Valley has no problem with accents. Of course, the problem is that you need to convey emotions. You need to convince people. And if you don't speak English well enough to tell a story, then it's hard for us to believe that you can be an effective fundraiser or effective at finding co-founders and effective at finding customers in the US. So if you haven't spent a few months in an English speaking country, I would definitely recommend to spend 3 months in Ireland and go and work at Starbucks. Whatever it is, English is not a foreign language. It's just something that you need to know well to be able to create a global company. That's why you are applying to Liquid Factory. I think we're done with the questions. I don't know if there is anyone who wants to ask a question, or if you don't, then I want to thank you and Franco as well for being here. Again, you have 4 days. Last year we had 70% of the applications on the 29th and the 30th. We hope that you'll come earlier this time. But no, we're going to be fairly strict on the 30th, so don't come back on July 2nd applying, because you will be inserted into the batch of 2027. So we're not accepting rolling application after the end of June. Is going to be, we're going to get as many as we get by the end of June, and then start working on that right away.
I have some question.
Yep.
So I see like some information about your company is like not accelerator, um, is not incubator. But is in this project, is it possible to put inside a person that live in America? So I have my co-founder.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
Absolutely.
actually, Merivia, two co-founders in the US, and they came to Valtellina for 3 months. They enjoyed Valtellina. They were the first time they went out to buy a cappuccino and croissant, and they were two, and they said €6, and he says, "No, I said two cappuccinos, two croissant," and the lady said, "No,
Okay.
still €6." So they managed to live in Italy for 3 months or two and enjoy the time around. So definitely, I think they will enjoy being here. Being American, they can stay here for 3 months with no visa. We have some issues with people that need a visa in long term, but we have one founder that we asked for the Italian startup visa. It has not been a great experience. So it's harder than getting a visa in the US. But so I don't know if you have, if the CEO is American, I mean, the idea is be here 3 months and there it's fine. If the goal is to be in Italy for 3 months. So we had applicants from India and they needed a visa to be here for 3 months. That makes it really, really hard for us because we just don't
There
have the
is
time.
there is
So
many solution also, like if you make a contract of worker, so like if the CEO is like American and you make a contract of worker from Italy, like you can come to America.
absolutely. Yeah, so we're open again. We had Americans, they were living in the US, they came in. So definitely yes.
And last question is like, how much is liquidity you need for like put the capital inside? So I know, for example, like if you making a company like there and you making a 51% of the company or 57, I don't know, 60% because you need the rest, a part of the quote for the future
Zero. So
co-founder.
we give you 10K. So we give you 10K. So we go to the notary, you go with our 10K, and you say, I'm going to get 60, he's going to get 40, and you put zero. So the capital is going to be the first 10K is going to be put by us. So you don't have to put, 1,000, 3,000, 4,000, zero. So you don't have to spend a single euro. And then we give you the 190 when you open the bank account. So first is go to the notary, you sign the documents. Unfortunately, you might have to do it in person. If everyone is outside Italy, then the resident outside Italy, we can do it online. Otherwise, we have to go to the notary in person or with procura. And then the companies formed. One owns 60, the other one 40, 20, 80, whatever. We had all the combination 51, 49. And then once you get that, then you go to you have to be wait for Camera di Commercio to create a company, then you can open a bank account, and then we send you the other 190. And that's how the process works. So the answer is you don't have to put any money. Because we have people that have 19 and have absolutely no money, so we didn't want to limit saying, oh, you have to put 3,000 to fund your company, so we decided to go this way, so you don't have to.
This is interesting, but I think how you can afford the problem when like you get put the money like, inside and then you have to cover like the with the liquidity like the payment of the worker, the wages.
Yeah,
So
you
like
have
you say,
200K. So at that point, you are the CEO. You have 200,000, actually, a little bit less because you have to pay the notary and the lawyer. So you have maybe 190 and you use your 190 to pay yourself, pay the employees, hire. I mean, it's your money. You can do anything you want with that. There are people that pay themselves a little bit and a little people that pay more. We have no suggestion. Our main suggestion is try not to go with a burn rate above 10K per month at the beginning because 10K per month means that you have money for, since we give you 200, you have money for 18 months, and that's okay. If you go to the 12, 13, 15K per month, then you have less time, and that means you have less time to fundraise for the next round. So we usually don't recommend that. But we had a company that spent 50K in the third month to do a launch of a product, and which actually didn't work. So then we had to pivot, and we have 50K less. But again, you can do anything you want to with the money.
and where is the risk?
For whom?
Like the risk for the founder, like the founder and investor that put the money inside, like
I give you 200K. So my risk is that I lose the 200K. Your risk is that you pay yourself your salary for 12, 18 months. The company doesn't make it, and then you have to find a job. So you've wasted 18 months. You learned something, but you found a job. Like one of our founder that didn't make it, just became the head product at Lexroom, which is a startup that just raised 50 million the other day. So I mean, you come out of Liquid Factory, you went through a process, they didn't work too bad. He found a job in Milan that is going to pay him quite well. So your risk is that you're doing something that will not work. I mean, it's a high risk venture business, and these companies, the probability of failing is pretty high. If you're afraid of failing and telling your mom, hey, I failed after 18 months, then don't do it. But your main risk is that. Anything else, I don't think so, because you can pay yourself, and maybe some of the people have good jobs that we've seen. They have to quit because we expect you to be fully working on this 100%. So you have a good job, you're quitting your good job to start doing this. 18 months later, you find out it didn't work, you have to find a job. So that's your
Okay,
risk.
interesting.
All right. So other questions? When you can expect to know something? As I mentioned before, we're getting all the application in. Hopefully, we can do all human based and we don't use AI. That's my goal, but it depends on how many we'll receive. I'm a bit worried right now. You'll be the first cut will be probably by the end of July for sure. So you're going to be informed by the end of July whether you are in the top probably 60 or not. And if you're in the 60, then fairly soon, maybe a week later, we're going to tell you if you are in the top 20. And if you are in the top 20 by the end of July, we're going to start setting up calls. For us, August is a month like any other month. So we're going to start doing calls. So we're going to schedule a call with you, with one of the partner. We're going to record it and then by mid-August, hopefully we'll be done with the selection term sheet signed, which is the one that you see on the website. So make sure you read it. There's no flexibility, unfortunately. We got money from the bank. It says 20K, cap is 1 million. If you go belly up, we have liquidation preference of 1.5. Those are things we cannot change. We had people that went through the process and the last minute said, "Hey, can I have a cap at 2 million?" No, oh sorry, so I'm not coming. Hopefully, we will not gonna see this again. We're gonna ask these questions early, but it might happen. Thank you, Elena. I appreciate the comment. 10K per Italian SRL. Yes, we funding the company with 10K. So it's capitale sociale will be 10,000 euros. You can put some money inside the company. No, why? I don't think you should. You have 200K, why you put more money? I don't know. If you want to put some more money in your company, I have no problem. But you have 100%, so you have more than 100%, you cannot have. So I don't know why you want to put more money to get more than 100%. One-to-one call is only for the top 20. So that's the bandwidth we have. Mashal?
Hi, thank you for scheduling this call. And apologies if this question has been already answered. I joined late. I would love to understand a bit more about what has happened so far with the founders who've actually graduated from the Liquid Factory. So how many companies have been created?
Yeah,
What's been kind of
so we have done
funding
two
round?
batches. Sorry.
Okay. Yeah.
So
That was basically the
two
question. Yeah.
batches, so it's a year. So the second batch is started in October, and so we're in June. First batch was in this January of last year. So we have an experience of a year and a half so far. Of the first batch, we had four companies. One is ending. So they are shutting down because the guy has been hired. And one of the reasons that he didn't get along with the co-founder, so they split. And that's one reason why we prefer teams now, but I'm not sure about it. And they had a steady revenue stream coming in, but it will make a small medium business, and which is not something we're interested in. And he wasn't interested in as well. So one failure out of four. One is in Silicon Valley, inside Foundation Capital Lab. So it's the one that hopefully is going to bring around fairly soon. The valuation we hope is going to be between 20 and 30 million. The other two ladies are grinding. One is actually working very well, and it's the one AI in fashion. So she has big customers, big names. She doesn't want to go to Silicon Valley for her own reasons. And so she's going to stay probably in Italy and I think in Europe, they're going to start fundraising in September. Same thing for Laura. She's interior design and she's in Barcelona now. A small thing that happened is that she got pregnant and she now has a baby, so that slowed her down a little bit. But she's fully working right now, and so she will take her for the fundraising as well. They have a really good product, but has a hard time monetizing it. So fundraising is a little bit challenging in Europe where they want to see money. Second batch are four companies. One, the biotech went through so many different changes. I cannot even count how many times they pivot. So now they're getting to the mosquitoes. And that's they're pretty much starting from scratch. They started in October, now they're restarting. So which happens. I mean, we're pivoting quite a bit. In this case, it's fairly dramatic. One is Solship. They just won a grant of 20K yesterday. I don't know if they published the information. So they're winning a lot of prizes. They're doing extremely well. They have six customers live with their product. So they were able to, it's a hardware company, but by December, the product was ready. In January, they started putting in the market. We're in June. They have customers and they have this in the market. So it's looking fairly good. There is one fintech that just came back from Silicon Valley. They have now 40 customers using their product. And then Umo is now live on the App Store, both iOS and Android. They have two. They have one team in France and two top teams, soccer teams I cannot name in Italy, using their platform. Plus, they have all these users that are starting to have pay. So they have activated their payment, I think last week. So that's where they are. Overall, I would say 8 out of 8 really excellent people. It's not hard to find four people that are really good out of 547. So, and then the business, it's a lot of is luck. A lot of is the product moving. Like the guy who quit, he started with stable coin and crypto. And at that time, which was a year and a half, it seemed like it was very ahead of the competition. And in a year, everybody caught up. So it became one of the many, and they couldn't find a way to be different. So it happens.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. And then just a follow-up question. So the way the program works is that it starts in Italy and then the founders move to the US. And then post that, is it more up to the founder where exactly they want to incorporate the
Yeah, I mean,
company?
it's all up to the founders because we cannot tell you what to do. There's
Mm-hmm.
nothing in our agreement. If you look at the term sheet that says that you have to come to Valtellina or go to Silicon Valley or do whatever, you can do absolutely whatever you want. We would like you to be in Valtellina. I mean, otherwise, why would you apply for this? So the expectation is that you're going to be here. We give you free office. We give you free room. So you stay here for 3 months and then you go to Silicon Valley. We in the next batch we want to push it a little bit more. Is going to come up with the questions because we think it's important. Even if you don't get into Y Combinator or an accelerator, we're going to try to do immediately in November when there is the deadline. We think at this point we have a faith and belief that the companies we're starting can compete. So we don't want to hold back and say, okay, let's wait until you're ready to go. You're ready to go right away. So we want to just push you as fast as possible. And so our idea is that you go there in January. We get a B1, which means you get 6 months and you stay there until June. We're not going to give you free anything. Maybe we're going to be able to pay for an office, but I don't know if we'll have enough money. Unfortunately, with the 4 million, we don't have a lot of budget, but you do because you have 200K. The goal there would be to structure something so that you can have either you get into an accelerator like Y Combinator or South Park or something recent. There are plenty, or you get angels that will start putting money into the U.S. company. At that point, I think you are an established company in the U.S. And so the goal is to get you with an O1, which is the exceptional ability visa that has three
Mm-hmm.
things. One is that you won a competition with peers, which you get by getting into the Liquid Factory. Two, that there are articles written about you, which you get by getting into the Liquid Factory. And three, that you've been a judge in a competition with peers. So you were the judge on the other side, which we have done for the last batch. The founders of the first batch were judges for the second batch, and I think part of the founders of the second batch will be judges for this selection. So we're building the story so that you can get a visa, because the issue is that if you go there in January, stay there until the end of June, at that point you have to come back. We want to make sure that you have a visa so you can stay there.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. So if I understand that correctly, so you do provide support with visas, both for Italy as well as the US. And then
Correct.
apart from that, for Italy, there is accommodation and all that support. But for the US, it's really up to you to
Correct.
make sure you cover yourself. Is that right?
Yeah, we can help. I mean, we have people in San Francisco, so I mean, if you need a room, we haven't done it. So this is the first time I want to push it a little bit more because I've seen that. Otherwise, the risk is that some of our founders went there for like a month, 2 months, just not enough time. You have to establish yourself and commit to do the company from there rather than go back and forth because back and forth really doesn't work. So
Yeah.
our recommendation also from what we've seen is that those that are there permanently have a higher chance to make it than going back and forth. So we're gonna suggest.
Yeah. Yeah. Of course, that makes a lot of
Well, we
sense.
can't again. We cannot force anyone.
Yeah, yeah, okay. And then I think just one last question. Thinking about
I think we lost you. I think thinking about. Hopefully, not just me. All right, Thomas.
Yes, hello. I just want to ask one question. Of course, my goal is will be one of the four, and your goal is to reach the accelerator in the USA, no? But if we don't reach this goal, I mean the accelerator in USA, but the company start to be very profitable, it's okay. I mean.
Yeah, I mean, again, fashionista. I don't think they're gonna.
100K, it's enough to.
Yeah, I mean, a fashionista is not probably ever going to go to the US, and they'll be a company in Italy for good, and that's okay. I mean, we're fine with that. So, I mean,
uh,
they're starting to get revenue. I think they can grow here. We have a company that has two Egyptians in it, and they have a hard time getting a visa for the US. They got in, but to stay, they cannot get a green card. So, personally, I'm pushing for them to fundraise in the Middle East, where they have easier access. I mean, we clearly adapt to whatever we find. So it's same answer for Mirko. Mirko, if you have customers in Lecco, that's fine. I mean, if you can get to the US with some experience on how this works locally, that works for us. It might actually make sense for you not to go to the US in January. And so you start building something, and we spent 3 months analyzing this, and it's 3 months you can grow the business in Italy to a point where you can prove this works. At that point is the time to execute the flip, and maybe it's not the first year, maybe it's not the second year. Maybe you start with a business in Italy, and then you go to France, and then you go to Germany, and then eventually get to the US. So that depends
Okay.
on it's we're the ideal thing we have is someone that comes here, then it goes to November, we apply for Y Combinator. In January they're in Y Combinator, and we just say goodbye, and don't hear from them until they get to a unicorn. That would be ideal. It doesn't happen that easily, so we know that's those are very selective, so we'll see how that
So, sorry, but after this conversation, we should have like some chatbot or like some assistant to ask some question in the future before like to present the
Yeah,
product.
there is a WhatsApp number in on the website, and the chatbot is me. So if you write, the chatbot will answer.
Human
Yeah,
bot.
in the next 4 days, I'll make sure. I'm getting a lot of questions, but I'm trying to answer everyone. Don't if you don't hear from me for a while, it means I have a full-time job and doing something else. But by night, I will answer all the questions I get.
Should make the second brain of
Yeah, we should make an
Liquid
AI
Factory.
of myself, but I haven't. I'd rather do it myself, so I learn because that's so far is better. Then maybe at year 5 or 6, I'll put some AI of Fabrizio. Gabriele?
Yeah, ciao Fabrizio, ciao everybody. I just want to, first of all, say I already messaged you on LinkedIn by saying that
Did
there's
I
something
answer?
Yes, of course. Yes, of course.
Of course, I'm happy that I did. Okay.
Pretty much fast. Pretty much fast. No, it's just because as I was writing on LinkedIn, I mean, either there's something missing when it's about startups, and it's thinking like in a global way. So keep going because you're doing a great job, first of all. And then my question is just like a curiosity. I just wanted to say if and the application screening is already started or not.
No, no, we were too lazy. So we were not. We're doing. It's one of the thought we had in the past is should we just start? What we've seen last year and the year before is that over 70% of the application came in the last 2 days. And so just spending time to read the first 30% and for a month or 2 or 6 months is just a waste. So we just get them all, and then July 1st, we're gonna just start working on it, and then again reply soon. So the fact that you applied early doesn't really matter to us. I think we might change this as we go, but right now we've done 3 batches this way. I don't think we're going to change for the fourth. Maybe if we do another Liquid Factory after this one, we might change things. And if we do like a quarterly batch, then we might do like Y Combinator where you can apply pretty much any time. And if you come in and they're interested, they might call you even a month in. For us, is this once a year is fairly limiting because I met people in August saying, "Hey, I'm ready to go." And I said, "Well, you gotta wait until June the next year. That's not great." So hopefully we'll change it.
Thank you.
How many applications have you received so far for this year batch? If I may ask, yes, you can ask. And it's out of real time. Let me see how many do we have. We have, as of exactly now, 405 compared to last year, where we had as the day today 136. So we have 3 times. Doesn't mean that we're gonna have 3 times. Hopefully that we have 1,500. Hopefully not. I think but we are at 400 and something. So we're 3 times last year as of today. Michelle, sorry you were disconnected.
Yeah, apologies. I lost connection there. So my question was really understanding a bit more about the applications and the founders that you do end up selecting. So like you mentioned, you do receive a lot of applications, and I was wondering if there are specific traits or characteristics that you really admire and want founders to have that you do end up selecting, or any insights that you can share on the applicants you
Yeah.
do.
So if I have to, yeah, if they design the perfect application, it would be 2 people, not three, not one. 2 people with 2 different characteristics, one tech, the other one non-tech, or one business, one tech, if it's a tech company, that speak English well, that are able to communicate their passion. So possibly with an experience on the idea they have, as if I'm in fashion and my idea is something that changes fashion for good. I'm an interior designer, and I think I've seen something in interior design that can be changed for good. And so if you have some background, I mean, we're getting people that are 19, 20 years old, so we don't expect that much of a background anyway, but some will help. I think we're looking for people that have a passion. You can tell in 60 seconds if someone has a passion for what they do, and that if they will not go to bed until they've solved that problem, and that they will not give up. Because I started 4 companies. I know what it means. It's painful, and so you need people that really, really have the passion. And I said again, an obsession for what they're doing, and a conviction that they found something that other people have overlooked, and they talk to people and they say that cannot be done, and they are, nope, you're wrong, it can be done. And so we eventually what we like to have people that have a conviction they can go forward, but also that are willing to listen, because otherwise we're useless. And if you're willing to listen, then you become better if you're humble. And I don't know if that comes through in 60 seconds, but then in the chat we might have that's quite important. So those will be the characteristic of a good entrepreneur, is someone never gives up. We compare that to scaling in the mountain out here. is you cannot do it alone. You want to go to the top. It's hard. It's a grind. So you need a team. You need to convince everyone that you can get to the top. And again, it's a early investing is a bit of magic, so it's a gut investing. So the last decision, I think, will be in a more of a gut feeling than anything else.
Yeah. And you don't really need an idea at the time of application,
We do
right? So
not
it's
need
more like,
an idea.
yeah.
We got people in without an idea. If there are 500 people competing with you and 20 have really good ideas, at this point where we are, it's harder to compete. You need to stand out by your background, by the way you talk about yourself, and that you're passionate about something. But if that something really doesn't have an idea, it lowers your probability to get in. So I want to be completely honest that we started this where you don't need an idea, and we got people that had no ideas. Now that the numbers are growing and having zero idea, it might become harder to compete and get in the top 20 we talk to. So we might end up talking to 20 people because we like their idea, we like their passion. If you have an idea, then there is a market, and then your experience is linked to your idea, and so we can see the full package. And maybe you have a prototype and you have a co-founder and you've done a little bit of the road already, and you kind of stuck because you don't know how to grow and you need the money, but you need also the experience of people that have done it before, and you want to go to Silicon Valley, then that's sort of a combination. So again, we don't need an idea, and we have invested in people without an idea. It's just harder to compete, I think, at this point, because we got a bit too big.
Yeah. Okay, that's incredibly helpful. Thank you.
All right, I think it's 7:21 Italian time, so I think we can shut it down. Thanks, everybody. Again, if you have further question, you find us on the website, on LinkedIn, personally. If you ask to connect to me, I will accept you and then answer your questions. If you want to send a message through WhatsApp, we have it on the website as well. And again, it's going to be me answering. So the next 4 days, I'll be on deck trying to answer any question you might have. Hopefully, we covered a lot, so you don't have further questions. Do not send me a message with your idea because I'll not read it because I will just postpone that when the application come in and when we do the actual selection, because again, with just the 400 we have already, we get too many. And so there is a process we're going to go through, and just sending me your idea, PDFs, demo links, it was not going to help your application. It's not going to make your application less likely. So, but just don't waste your time. Vitaly has one last question. Video not enough. If you want to submit a new one, just go ahead, and we'll cancel. We'll erase the one above, and then maybe send in the application, say, hey, this is my second one. We'll find you twice, so we'll figure out that if we're gonna get the most recent one, because your LinkedIn is there. I think we have email we asked for, so we will find that it's you. So if you have a second application, maybe put a note in it saying, hey, I applied also on that date to just this, can erase that one and use this one. So no, don't worry about it. All right, thanks again. Have a good night.
Ciao Fab.
Ciao Mario.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Goodbye. Thank you.
Good
Thank
night.
you so
See
much.
later.